The number one mistake I see people make when training for speed is they don't give enough time for speed to develop. I can't tell you how many people hire me to train them in speed. They come 1 month, 2 months, 3 months out from a big competition, and that simply is not enough time to develop true speed. Don't waste any more time. Get started with your speed training right now. And if you're wondering who I am, my name is Chase Wheeler. I've done some pretty cool things in track and field, some pretty cool things as far as being a coach. I was personally able to get a full ride scholarship to UC Berkeley, and I've helped a handful of other athletes get scholarships to places like UC Berkeley, UC Santa Barbara, Carleton, and more. This video will go in depth on speed training, but I promise by the end of it, you'll have a better understanding of how to train for speed. And not only that, at the very end, I'm giving away a 4-week free speed training course. So make sure you watch all the way to the end to learn how to unlock this free course. So we're going to start off by meeting Liam. This is one of my athletes who initially came to me towards the late end of a season. As I said, this is the mistake that many athletes make. There were about only 4 weeks left before his season was over. And so he came to me and wanted to improve his times and potentially make a spot on the varsity 4x4 team as a freshman. You see here, he came to me, his 400 time was somewhere around 56.16. His 200 time was around 25.2. His 100 time was around 13.5. Liam just didn't understand what consistency looked like, didn't understand how to train. So we did what we could for Liam's first race together. So what I did for Liam was build an entire fall training cycle from scratch, then a full winter cycle, and then, of course, a spring cycle. And that changed everything for Liam. Liam was no longer slow, and he will never be slow again. You see some of the transformation times here, the 56.16 from that first race I showed you to a 53.21 at this race we're going to look at in a second. And, of course, in order to get faster at the 400, we wanted to improve his 200 from 24.94 to 23.23, and his 100, which was a huge improvement for him, was 13.5 to 11.3. And when he ran this 100 time, he actually was very surprised that he was able to do this at one of his biggest meets of his life. So we got him his fastest time at his biggest meet of his life simply by doing the things that I'm about to show you. He was faster, he was stronger, he was more confident. And as mentioned earlier, I do have the 4-week free fall training course coming up for you that you can download completely free and get a head start on your competition. The real turning point for Liam wasn't a fancy race strategy. It was starting early with his training. Fall training gave him the time to build the habits, the strength, the speed required to handle the elite level workload that I gave him. You see him over here with this sled working out in the nighttime. Again, just goes back to the habits that he built, the consistency, and the vision that he had, the goals that he set. We'll go over all of this in a second. If you're serious about getting faster this year, fall is where it starts. And here's why it matters so much. The truth is, smaller habits matter more than the bigger workouts. It takes about 45 days to build a habit. So if you wait until the start of the season, you're essentially wasting the first part of the season just trying to build good habits. You want to understand which personal routines help you win races. What food are you eating in the morning that's going to fuel you the most? How much sleep do you need to be fully recovered? How long does your warm-up take? What type of cool down, stretching, foam rolling puts you in the best position to show up at top speed the following day? You really want to build these habits and systems now so that when competition comes, you can execute without thinking. You don't have to think anymore. All you have to do is run. It's also the perfect time to experiment during this fall season. Everyone needs to make improvements year to year if you want to improve your speed. And now is the time to make those little changes and see what helps. Does activation band work help before my workouts? Does core work help after my workouts? The answer for both of those is generally yes. And I'm going to highlight again, this habits is greater than hype, as we have in this header of this slide here. If you can see this picture, here is Liam and actually his younger sister. They're at this track training. This is in Japan. They sent me this picture to show, hey, we're still getting in work even though we're out here on vacation. And you love to see stuff like this because, again, this is what truly matters. And it's days like this, it's moments like this that really pay off. So important key notes here is that fall is for building, not for peaking. We're just building the base of this pyramid. We're going to work on strength. We're going to work on mechanics. We're going to work on habits. Top speed comes later once the foundation is built. When you develop top speed, it's almost like sharpening a blade or sharpening your skill set. But at the very bottom of that, you need to have this fall conditioning period. This is where you build your engine, your sprint engine. It's not when you unleash your sprint engine, not just yet. So this is a system I developed, but it's truly not my creation. It's things that I learned from great coaches around me, such as Caryl Smith, who I learned about power development and must be built methodically. It's not something that can be rushed. This is super key here because, again, it's this fallacy of more is better, where you have people who do other sports or think that the 30-meter flies that we just did were not enough. They don't feel like they worked hard enough. And so they're going to go after practice and do more speed work. Speed is totally not built like that. It's not the stories that you hear of Steph Curry or Kobe Bryant putting up 1,000 shots a day or however many that is that they do, which is super impressive and does show dedication. But when you begin to conceptualize speed in that way, it's going to harm you. You have to have rest days. You cannot go to speed training and then go to soccer practice or basketball practice or vice versa. That's not how speed is built. And we'll go into more of that. And someone who shares something, a similar ideology is Boo Schetzler. I'm sorry, I'm mispronouncing your name. But the concept is that speed is a skill, right? You need to consistently touch this skill while progressing volume carefully, or you lose your neural sharpness. So this means that every day you want to show up sharp. You want to just slowly build on top of what you have been working towards, and you want to maintain your sharpness by way of consistency, by way of never really having workouts. Like, the concept here is that you don't want any of your workouts to be like too low effort where you're not really working on speed. You're just really working on conditioning and things like that. You want everything to be geared towards and tailored towards speed. And then another mentor who I've worked with actually personally a while ago is Curtis Taylor, about who speaks about using plyos and resistance sprints as a way to develop explosiveness. But the key here is that you always want to be under control. And fall is where you groove those mechanics with perfect intent. Now, I say groove those mechanics very intentionally because you are actually forming grooves in neural pathways in your brain that are going to be geared towards speed. And those neural pathways, those grooves, need time to develop deeper and deeper and deeper. It means that you're really conceptualizing, you're really learning what speed is about. So here we have a sprint pyramid. This is a USTF CCCA inspired model. I don't even know what that means, but this is where I sourced it from. The base here, you see, this is what we're working on this fall: mobility, stability, and mechanics, as well as strength and a little bit of speed, but not too much, because you see here when we go up in this pyramid, you have strength and specific strength. So we'll touch a little bit on what that means. And then all the way up here, now you finally are developing speed, power, and event-specific speed and power. I also like to use this pyramid to conceptualize the kind of training that we will be doing down here in the bottom. If you've seen some of my other videos, I go over this briefly, where the bottom of this pyramid is kind of reserved for fall training. And what that means is I'm going to kind of cap it off at about 3,200 meters here, total volume sprinting. And that's 2 miles total volume sprinting. So that doesn't mean go out and run your 2 miles all at once, right? What that means is, Editor Chase here, I'm working hard to get this video out to you. I just realized it may not be so clear when I say 3,200 meters total volume sprinting. That's per workout. Not every workout will have you running 3,200 meters total. So you add up all your sets and reps. If you had 100-meter repeats, that would be 32 100-meter repeats. It's not something I'm suggesting. I'm just giving you an idea of when we add up the total. It's going to be around 3,200 for the fall, but not every workout will be 3,200 meters. It's just, that's kind of where I begin to realize the quality of our sprinting will begin to go down. Even when we're strong, experienced, seasoned sprinters, when you get to 3,200 meters total sprinting, some can go over a little bit, and some need less than, but your quality begins to diminish to the point where it's time to give up that workout. So I just wanted to clarify that. let's get back to the video because I'm enjoying editing it. I hope you're enjoying watching it. Example workout would be sprint the straights, jog or walk the turns, and do that repeated for 2 miles. Or you could have something like, how many 200s is that? 16 200s. So 16 200. So something like 2 times 8 sets of 200. So keep in mind, right? If we're doing something like 2 sets of 8 times 200, that's a lot of volume for a sprinter. So again, I think I should slow down here and say that these are all done in flats. Nothing about this will be done in spikes. It's very important to protect your body as the season progresses. We are starting not early, we're starting on time. And a part of that is protecting yourself as you work up this pyramid. So we will be in flats. When we're doing something like 2 sets of 8 times 200, you have to imagine we're not running these at 100%, which is what a lot of people will get excited, rightfully so, because this is exciting stuff, as you can tell. But we want to run these out 70%, right? Remember the advice we received from our mentors, which is that you want to develop speed in a way that is extremely efficient. So if I'm running 200s repeats at 70%, I can maintain my form. I can maintain my power. I'm going to definitely get fatigued here, but it's something that I can achieve even on day one. Now, let's say I bumped it up. Let's say I began this workout at 85%. Now, maybe I can get through 4 at 85%. Maybe if I'm really in shape, I can get through 6 at 85%. But there's no way I'm doing 16 of these at 85%. It's just not happening. Actually, like a funny story is at UC Berkeley, we used to make fun of each other as far as the distance people and the sprint people, because the distance people would ask, well, what'd you guys have for practice today? And we'd say like 8 200s. And so they would laugh at us because they just ran like 30 of them. But the difference is that their percentage was nowhere near 70%. They may have been going 50% of their max speed, or some sort of pace to indicate what their race would be, whereas we are tapping the 70-75%. So our volume has to go, when our volume goes up, intensity goes down, and so that's really important as we think about this sprint pyramid. When we look at fall training and winter training and spring training, we're going to work towards what's called periodization, and that means that stress is applied to the athlete that is being trained by loading and then unloading the body. And this is extremely thought out and timed, should be timed well. You have a little bit of deviation from athlete to athlete, but this is how you help peak at the right time. Remember when I told you that my athlete Liam was very happy and surprised that he told me the date of one of his big meets, and I had him PRing for that date and the week after and the week after, and he was like, wow, like this stuff really works. Like, yeah, there's some science that goes into this. So it does have to do with breaking the body down and then building the body up. You see this very in-depth performance chart here. You don't have to necessarily worry about that. Just understand that when the appropriate stress is applied to your body will overcompensate during recovery. So it's the same concept when you lift weights, which is that you don't actually get strong in the gym. You get strong when you rest. So you lift a lot of weight, you break your muscle fibers apart, and then during rest and recovery, those muscle fibers grow back and they grow back stronger. And that's the same thing that we're doing here with periodization. There's going to get to a point where we are overcompensating or supercompensating, which is the physiological response by the body to the physical training. It signifies a reaction from the body and an adaptation to adapt to the stress that the training that we just did has placed on it. So it's really important to understand about this whole thing is that these adaptations occur during rest. So make sure that you do get your proper rest. So looking at a bit of the larger picture here, you have your macro training cycles, your meso training cycles, and your micro training cycles. It's not so important that you understand this as an athlete, although as a coach, it is quite important that you understand this. But what we're focused on for fall is not necessarily the macro. I know it says here, this is a mistake. Full season is not 12 to 16 weeks. It is more like the meso training period. And then at the very end, as I said before, I'll give you a micro training period, not a 1 week plan, but a 4 week plan. And in my opinion, that is micro because it's not quite enough. I mean, it's enough time to see improvements and changes, but not in the way that you would like to see it. So just touching on how we actually get faster, this idea of overcompensation, supercompensation, where periodization, where you load, you break yourself down, you rest, you recover, you improve. This role of recovery chart here that I got from Coach Caryl in one of the documents that I sourced from her. I'll put it in the link below if you're interested in reading that. Again, you don't get faster from the work itself, you get faster during recovery. So you see this system that we're working here, which is you're loading, breaking yourself down. At some point, the loading has to stop. You cannot keep beating yourself up and expect to see improvements. This is a little bit of what we discussed earlier with people that leave track practice thinking that like, oh, that was easy. Let me go ahead and just hop over to this basketball or soccer practice. That ain't how it worked, because now you're messing with this recovery portion, right? And this is a span of weeks. This is not like hours or days. So you're going to spend some weeks recovering. You will then begin to develop this overcompensation period for a few weeks. And this is where you want to be at the peak meat of your season, because this is kind of where you peak, and literally the peak of this pyramid right here. And you cannot stay there for too long, 1 week, 2 weeks max. And then eventually you begin to go downhill again. And, or if you try to maintain this, that's also when you can get injured. So you have your training phases, and this is really what we're building right now for the fall season, which is preparation. You want to build the base. You want to build strength, endurance, and technique. Preparation phase. We're not in competition phase. We're actually quite a ways away from it. Nor are we in this transition, rest, and recover phase. So the important thing to understand about this progression is it gradually increases over time. You want to focus each training period on what it is. You're going to be eager to get into spikes, but it's not the time to do that, because you really want to build yourself up, your tendons in your feet, your ankles, all of those, in order to, when you do spike up, to really go for it. So one of the key things that I challenged Liam with was to plan backwards, to have a big goal, understand the date, right? I have to understand what date you want to peak in order to help you peak at the right time. Because, you don't want to necessarily run your fastest time in the first meet of the year. As great as that is, you're going to be really disappointed come big meets that happen later on, and you're not able to peak well. And people that peak in the beginning of the season and kind of stay around there but don't really get any better really don't understand the periodization and the overcompensation of these cycles. So now you have a little bit of a leg up because you understand what that means. So you want to pick your peak competition, count backwards to build training blocks. 12 weeks, for an example, you want to 12 weeks out before your biggest race, you want to be doing certain things, like whether you want to load or unload during that period. You want to set SMART goals to map your training phases. So I included this little clip here of Liam's best times, peaking at the right time, the perfect time, where he got a 53:21 and a 23:23. You want to, of course, it's just briefly going over SMART goals, clear and targeted, measurable. You want to be able to track your progress. This is another challenge that I had for Liam, which is to keep a journal, write down your workouts, write down your times that you ran through your workouts, right? Whatever you track, whatever you measure is where you're going to improve. And if you're just kind of hoping and wishing that things go well without a real goal, without a real vision, it's not so likely that it will go well for you. Of course, you want it to be achievable, realistic for your level. Everyone probably wants to run, or everyone who's a sprinter probably wants to run a 9:56 and say they beat Usain Bolt's record. But how realistic is that for you, your skill level, your age, all those things, right? You want it to be relevant, aligned with your season goals, and time bound, so linked to your competition date. So I mentioned I'm going to give away a 4-week plan, and I'm going to go ahead and just do that now since you've made it this far in the video. Before we give it away, we're going to have a week where you do a test period. So I just want you to run whatever event you run and just get a baseline for where you are. Then follow the plan as I have listed it, where we're going to have this certain rhythm where week 1 will be hard. You're going to be sore. You're going to be tight. Make sure you do all the things necessary to avoid injury. Week 2 will be moderate, so it will still be challenging, but not quite as hard as week 1. Week 3 will be hard again. So this goes back to the loading and unloading things that we're talking about. We're definitely loading you these first 3 weeks. And then the last week will be easy, at which point we'll retest our event that we tested during week 0. So this is the unload week. Again, a little bit short of a cycle, but I just want you to get a bit of an understanding of what it means to train in this way and see how well you improve over this short 4-week period. And then understand that when you expand that out, when you build on top of that, your improvements are just going to be greater and greater and greater the more time that you have to develop. So for the 4-week plan, what I want you to do is comment wheels below. That's WHEELS, wheels below. You're going to get the full starter plan. You have sprint sessions. I did not include weights. I thought I was going to, but I don't know the level of training that you've had as you watch this video, so I don't want to overload you. Just for weights, you can do 100 push-ups a day, 200 core work a day. Start there. And if you can, research some stability band work that you can do. I want you to get started this week. So when you scroll down, you comment wheels. While you're down there, go ahead and like and subscribe. And the PDF link for the 4-week plan is listed in the pinned comment. So you just scroll down, find the pinned comment, and download that PDF for the 4-week free training plan. So, okay, so we do have some rules, right? There's 3 big rules that I like to go over, which is no pain at all, especially not now in fall. Like, pain is your sign to stop or to reduce load. So, cut sets in half, cut the intensity down 10%, 15%, but no pain. Soreness is okay, is expected, but pain is not, right? Core and stability work is mandatory. It's going to really help you reduce pain and reduce chance of injury. And then details, repetition, and consistency are what win races. So your warm-up, you should have a routine. It should cover all the basics: hurdle walkovers, dynamic stretching, build-ups, strides. You don't want to get on the track, have to run up 100 at 100%, and you've done 0 buildups. That's not good, right? Repetition, starting this early, gives you time to repeat and to experiment, as we discussed, and to make changes to help hopefully improve. Or if they make it worse, then you go back and you go back to the drawing board, so you can really understand what changes help you and what changes hurt you. And consistency, just showing up and doing all the things required. Again, boring is what wins races. Boring is what produces achievement and success. There's actually a little bit of one of my favorite clips from Tyson Gay, which is an American sprinter who was one of the fastest sprinters of all time. He just happened to run during the Usain Bolt era, so he didn't win much as far as major championships. But one of the things he said during an interview, which I wish I pulled up, was that he kind of is bored. He eats the same thing. He wakes up at the same time. He does, workouts, and then he goes home and he has the same meal again. He has to get a certain amount of rest. And so he gets bored with his training. And that, again, is the key. Boring is when it pays off. So after you've commented wheels for your training plan, I want you to find a partner. This is one of the most overlooked pieces for building speed. You build speed directly correlated to who you train with. So everyone of note that is fast trains with fast people that challenge you, fast people that pull you, fast people that show up on days that you don't necessarily want to show up, and you show up on days where they don't necessarily show up. It's a relationship with teammates that helps push you to be better. If your teammates are not showing up for you and not pushing you to be better, you need to find new teammates. Not necessarily that your teammates have to be as fast as you. Let's say you're an anomaly. Let's say you're the person who's never lost a race. Then you can always have a rabbit out there that is 10 meters ahead of you, 5 meters ahead of you, that you get to chase down. They get faster, you get faster, everyone gets faster together. So another challenge for you is to share this video with one of your training partners. Commit to each other to show up. Commit to each other on long-term and weekly goals. You should check in with each other weekly and say, my goal might be to do my 200 core work and 100 push-ups after practice every day, and 15-20 minutes of stretching. Then my training partner gets to come to me and say, hey, did you do your goals? And if it's a yes, if it's a no. But being responsible to yourself is quite challenging in times, especially when the motivation goes. But being committed and responsible to someone else is a different story. You're more likely to show up on days where you really don't want to. So what I want you to do again is find a partner, share this video, and in the comments below, on top of your wheels comment, after your wheels comment, go ahead and share your goals with me in the comments. If you don't have a training partner, you can use this channel, this system, this community to help share your goals and to help people keep you accountable. I'll be here weekly to help you be accountable for those goals. So go ahead and share those in the comments, and then I will see you on the next video. Thanks.
Set.